Let me make sure I mute my YouTube as well. So
Okay,
we'll clear the
I'm back.
echo. All right, music weekend. It's already muted. Perfect. All right, what's going on, beautiful people? It's your host Drake, B Drake, with Everything Culture, the podcast for all cultures, the podcast with a purpose. Of course, our mission statement comes from the words of Dr. Martin King Jr., which are he believed that men hate each other because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because of segregation. And because of segregation, we have miscommunication. So we created this platform on the pillars of respect, communication, and consistency. So we get to know each other so we can love one another. And tonight we go live Sunday, every Sunday, 7:30 Central Standard Time. And we have conversations about what's going on in the week, what's going on with each other, any topics that may come up. We spend a little time here on YouTube. We may go over there on Facebook at time. We be on the TikToks, but we always have time for our community where we have conversations with us. All right. And some things, there was a lot of things going on with this week. All right. And see how much we can cover within the time that we have together tonight. But yeah, we just checked in. We got some tired folks here. We got some people that's doing pretty good. I see y'all relaxing and things. But overall, man, I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate y'all being here. We got a person we ain't seen in a minute. I can't say they new because they was here before all y'all. My guy, Jerron Hag, man. What's how you been, brother?
Man, I'm blessed. I'm good. I'm tired too, by the way. But yeah, I've been good, man. Chicagoland treat me good.
Oh man. Hey, yeah, we got to catch up. We need to really chop it up, man. Like, and we
It's been a
also
minute.
have you ever been part of the lives before Harlem Brown Eyes?
No, I haven't.
Well, we got a new person here. So of course it says Harlem Brown Eyes. Can you tell us where you from or where you represent and what cultures you represent?
Harlem,
What?
hence the name.
What?
But now I'm living in Brick City, Jersey, in Newark.
Mm,
My culture is um African American, Panamanian, West Indian.
mm. Okay. What's happening? Appreciate you for being here. And once again, and Harlem Brown Eyes is over here on TikTok. And if anybody on TikTok that have trouble come up, you want to jump up on here as well, you're more than welcome. We're doing both sides at the moment. So we have Tanya, we have Jaya, we also have Crystal, Miss Cat Eyes, and Court. You know, some people being shy tonight, and that's absolutely okay. But we have a pretty lengthy conversation tonight that's gonna make it happen. Now, if you're on Twitter, I sent y'all the video already, the videos what we're gonna be discussing. But I'm gonna try to play them right now. Um, so this is when the old man me come out. You trying to make sure you ain't messing up nothing. You ain't gonna play the wrong thing as well. So we do not want them problems. Oh, once again, shout out to Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, one of the best movies ever made. Um, I know people want to feel a certain type of way about that. I got hands, but all being said, hey, if you from the South and you got crazy family members, yeah, it's that. Oh, we got Christian now. Christian Jordan married. No, she gonna be behind the screen and she ain't gonna be on mute for a while because we are streaming right now. But as soon as we stop streaming, that's when she pops up. Just give y'all a little preface of that. But hey, Christian. Oh shit. Okay, excuse me. Let me see if we can. If y'all want to see it, want to hear it. Okay, my bad. CJD. My bad. Shit. Okay. So let me try to share it on the right screen. One, share sound. Boom. Okay, y'all can see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This statement is somewhat incorrect. Let me go into detail. The state itself does not receive money for removing children, but many of the entities, such as foster agencies, foster parents, residential treatment centers receive money because they need children to be active with that, okay? But the state really doesn't receive that money, all right? They don't. Even attorneys, they receive money by the amount of times they come to court. Wait, are y'all looking at us right now?
I can see. What do I see?
Can y'all see the video? Let's fix this. It's supposed to show the other screen. My bad. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. Show some. Here y'all can see it now.
That be good boy. That be good boy. Stop. Be my boy.
Court. Not as many cases they work, but every time they come to court, that's how they get their check cut. There we go. I'm going to make another video later talking about levels of care for kids and things of that nature and how it works. But something that was discussed before, and it's talking about privatizing CPS. Because if they privatize Child Protective Services, it's going to be the same thing as the prison pipeline. I'm just keeping it a book with you. Pay attention. Okay, that's one video. All right. The second one, if you want to work right.
So I have a lot of ideas for a lot of TV shows, but I specifically have an idea for a Black Mirror episode. So if you are one of the Black Mirror people, bring it on in and sit on down so we can talk. Okay, so here's the episode. So there's a social media influencer who does something that people do not like. And they become a social media pariah of sorts. And people start making think pieces and stitching and commenting horrible things on their feed, so they have to turn off their comments. Just all sorts of things that typically happen to social media influencers that do a thing that we do not like. So the idea is, as soon as you post a video or a comment or something talking about that influencer, a video will upload to your feed of one of the worst things you've ever done in your life. And it can't be deleted. And even if your feed is private, that specific post is public. So, of course, somewhere in the episode, somebody will find out about a murder or some kind of other thing that somebody did that's really horrible. But basically the idea is, if you want to blast other people, you're going to get blasted as well. So if we could get that episode started, I got a little treatment written up. No, I don't. But I could get one written up and we can get that going.
Okay. That's top 2. And lastly, this is.
When I was 14, I had a train ran on me by 3 senior boys in high school. I was 14, one was 17, another was 17, and one was 16 years old. When I was 14, I got bullied a lot, so I didn't have any friends in school, and my home life was no better than my school life. I was the black sheep of my family, and I was severely mistreated in my home, and I was left out, neglected, and bullied in school. I walked to school every day.
We're going to save
by
that one right there
myself.
because that is a long one. That is going to be the one after hours if we get to that one. But yeah, those are some of the conversations we want to touch on tonight. But is everyone here? Is everyone up to speed with everything?
Yeah.
Okay. So starting with the one about child welfare. Now, with kids in CPS, y'all know me. If you've been following me sometime, I was a CPS worker for 2 years. I was a guardian ad litem supervisor for 3 years, and I worked as a training recruitment manager for 5 years within the realm, and been a mediator in family law, civil law for the past 7, 8 years. Majority of my work for that has been in Texas, but I've been a volunteer within the child welfare realm in the Washington state for 4 years. I was there as a guardian ad litem volunteer, a CASA, court appointed advocate myself. So now back in Texas, seeing a lot of things that happen. And if some of y'all follow me, because I've done CPS stories and CPS tips, and I'm over 100 different videos all together, sharing my experience as that worker and the person with that experience trying to inform others. And I get all type of comments and people that, pro CPS, anti CPS, pro that I can do whatever I want to my kids. Somebody can't tell me nothing, no matter what I want to do to them. And we've had some that, hey, I need some help. I don't know what to do. You know, it's a variety of different things. It's a spectrum. So a statement came up that basically someone says that CPS is paid because or is getting compensated for adoption and children being adopted. And that was the video I made to the response. Like, CPS does not get paid for children getting adopted. And you know, a lot of people's, you know, have a different perspective, but I know Harlem Brown Eyes, we've been having conversation for years because we've both been working in the same realm of child welfare. Now, of course, they in the northeast, and they on the east coast, I'm on the third coast and doing the work. And I know every area is different, but she had like with no, well, I'm gonna let her speak, but she had a different opinion about how things may go, or a different experience how things may go. So if y'all have an experience or, you know, want to share anything, the floor is open to discuss this right now.
Hi. So this is Harlem. I don't feel that CPS or ACS, where I live, where I work, get paid for adopting out children. They get that cost off of them because they have to pay the foster parent. They have to pay the foster parent. And let's say you have a child that's not cognitively delayed. That child is only able to get funding until they're age 18. Yeah, 18 years old. So when that foster child becomes 18 years old, either they get put in an apartment program or they're on their own. 18 to 21 years old. But if you have a child that's cognitively delayed, you can get money for them until they're 23, I think. So that cost is coming out of ACS's pocket.
Yeah.
But if you have a child that's adopted, that's less cost on ACS with administration fees, with having to send a worker out there to monitor them. That's on ACS. Still gives them funding for cognitively delayed adopted children, but they don't have to do it like them. They don't have to pay somebody $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year to monitor that case. So that's how they win with that.
So, so when you're saying ACS, which is the department, like basically CPS, where you're at, correct?
Right.
So you're saying they are paying out, but how are they getting paid? That's one thing I want to make sure. How are they getting compensated for children being in care? Yes.
Okay. So when you say, okay, I have a program and I want to do this program, they have to get funding. So they have to get funded. They have to go to the state. They had to put out a proposal and they had to say, this is how much money I need. Okay. How much you going to need to run this program? Okay. So CPS goes to the state and says, I need this much funding. They got to get paid.
Yeah. But you know, when we say, so because CPS, I know in Harris County, so CPS is a county and a state system.
Right.
So when we say because when I hear CPS go to the state, CPS is the state essentially. So, and I understand when you're talking about when people got to hit numbers, but do you saying CPS have to, like, this is me. When I hear that CPS get paid, they have to hit a certain quota of numbers for children to be in care to get a certain type of funding.
Right.
So that's what you're saying in your area. Yeah, and I was like, I can't say it's like that children, because a lot of people say that. Well, let me clarify. What somebody says, and they come in my comments that, oh, CPS just going to remove kids to get paid. Do you believe that's accurate? They have to hit a certain number of removals to get compensated?
You're going to have products with anything you're doing. And it sounds horrible, but you're going to have to have product with any company. So the product that they have are children. So one of the jobs I worked in was residential.
RTC,
So yeah,
residential treatment facilities. Those are the large facilities for children. They don't really have a mother and father dynamic. They basically have counselors that care for the children on campus, and they stay like in a dorm type setting.
right. So in some ways, or they were removed from either the foster parent or the bio parent.
Yes.
So what happens is this used to happen often, and I've been working for the same agency. I was working for them 5 years, and then left,
Mm-hmm.
and then came back. But then I also worked in the school too during the day. So let's say it's the beginning of the school year. Let's start with the summer. So summer comes and they're trying to send children home because it's the end of the school year. They completed what they need to complete it, and the parents want them home. They've done everything they're supposed to do. So therefore, the census gets low. So then it stays low, and people start worrying, okay, are we going to lose our job because we're not getting enough funding?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So CPS, they say, oh, CPS is not going to send us kids during the summer because there's no report from school, not unless the child is very abused that they're sending us a kid during the summer.
Yeah.
Okay. So people start worrying like the summer months, September, October, and we said wait until the first market period comes out. And then that's when the kids start coming right after Thanksgiving. That's when the census is high, starts growing. Okay? Because CPS is not going to send them kids. So therefore, you're not getting any funding. CPS, and then CPS says, we're not getting enough funding. We're not getting enough kids to keep these programs going. So this money is just sitting here, and we have to meet our fiscal, our fiscal goal. So if they want to know, the powers that be want to know, why do you have this much money left over?
Yeah.
Because we're not spending on kids. So they get funding, they have to spend that money. So they'll go to the schools and say, okay, who has parent neglect, education neglect? That's a big thing here, is education neglect. So they're not making money per se. Like I go to the store directly and I'm buying a iPhone.
Yeah.
But they have a goal they have to meet through the state in order to meet their fiscal goal.
Okay. And this is in upstate New York, I would say.
This is in New York City, New York State.
Is CPS privatized or is it still state? That's all. Just be clear too. It's still state.
So what CPS does is that other programs come to them and they say, well, we have this program, we have that program. So like prevention is run through by ACS, CPS.
Yeah. So y'all have it split between family-based safety services. So people in Texas, because I talk about the video and you correct me if I'm wrong. Well, because they name different in different states. So you have under Department of Family Protective Services, you have 4 different departments. You have like Adult Protective Services, Child Protective Services, Child Care Licensing, and I can't think. I think they moved to statewide intake, the people who take the calls. All right. So that moves from under CPS, you have investigations, family-based safety services, which is prevention, meaning a call has been made, but and it's something happening, they may not need to remove kids, but they can provide the family services while the kids stay in the home. There's no legal case that's open. All right. Then they have conservatorship, which I was a part of. That's when the legal case is open. That's the state of Texas versus said parent. And the kids are removed from the home and they're placed either with a relative, a fictive kin, a foster parent, or in a residential treatment center. And then we have Halo, and then we have adoption prep. That's when the kids are adopted. That's when the parental rights are usually been terminated and they're going towards adoption. So you're speaking kind of the middle part when they have the prevention, and that's separate. And in FBSS here in Harris County is also not totally the state, it's the county program too.
See, with us, prevention is you can have anybody can open up a prevention program and put the proposal to ACS, CPS upstate, upstate or CPS, and say, I want to do this. I'm going to put out a program. This is what I'm going to do. So that's when private organizations come into play.
See.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. But that's what I was saying in the video. Private organizations do rely on numbers to be hit. But in the state, they usually are not relied on numbers to be hit. Yet, let me click. If they go private, if the CPS become private, yes. But RTCs, foster agencies, counselors, therapists, all of those do have to rely on some numbers to be hit to continue to be under contract.
But then when you go to the state, you have to put out a proposal how many families you're gonna help. And that's where CPS and ACS have to hit their numbers. And that's why they have so many different programs underneath them to help them hit their numbers.
Does that make it then a conflict of interest if your pay is then dependent upon how many children you have under your caseload, right?
I'm sorry, repeat that again?
I said, does that make it a conflict of interest as far as like if your pay is only related to how many children you then have on your caseload or how many children you have in your program? Does that, if there's like all kind of unscrupulous characters in any profession, will that then make it so where they are maybe, looking for kids that may necessarily need CPS services as much, but because they are under the strain of needing more kids, so to speak, on their contract, would that make it so that where situations like that is more possible?
I see it being a conflict of interest, but I look at it like this. If this is what the kids tell me too, it's like slavery. Because where I work, you don't see and where I work now, you don't see many kids that are non-melanin. They're Black, they're Spanish. It's very little. I can count how many kids I had that were Caucasian on my caseload, and they don't stay that often either, and they get special treatment.
So, so let's touch on that, because that came up to a point for me when the person said they get paid for adopting kids out, which, speak freely, that's bullshit. That's what I really wanted to say on their platform, because if that was the case, if CPS got paid for kids being adopted, there would not be so many kids in CPS custody without placement right now. It's hard to get kids adopted. So that doesn't even make sense to me. And I know in the work I've done, that's why we have other programs to try to get the parents to have the kids. That's why they try to pick. That woman was in Florida was calling CPS on herself so she can get free daycare. They have services for that. Like, I've seen so much that, like, hey, I want you to do the right thing. It is on a rare occasion, and don't get me wrong, it happens. So I ain't gonna be up here and cap, like, because I didn't work investigations. Now I've seen kids been removed because a caseworker may be stupid. I've seen a caseworker, a kid being removed because the caseworker may be petty. I've again seen kids removed because parents just want to be stubborn. I've had a case where the mother called CPS because she was getting into, I've seen this a bunch of times, but I've had one specifically I'm talking about. Well, the mother called CPS on the daddy because she wanted custody. She wanted to have that visit that weekend and made all these lies. And CPS ended up taking the kid away from her and putting him with, and we had to get involved. You see them type of custody battles happen at times, but I can't say that I've seen or like we need to hit this quota. And once again, in Harris County, we have so many kids in care. In just Harris County, not even Texas. Like not even like when I say Harris County, that's just Harris County. That's not Fort Bend County. That's not Montgomery County. This is just specifically Houston. That they have between 5,000 to 6,000 children in CPS custody on any given day. So, and when you were talking about the fluctuation of kids coming to care, we look at those statistics too. I keep saying like I'm still doing the work, but I know it's still actual. The reason why kids come into care like that, I know is because the main people who making the reports are the are the teachers. So when the kids come back to school and are able to be looked at by other people like, what happened to you over the summer, little Johnny? What's cracking with you, man? That's when things come up. But I also want to be mindful that now when kids are in care, that's what I tell them now that's the conversation that shifts when they're in care. That's what I tell you. I want your kids in care. When they go to different placements, and that's why I talked about those level of care. I made a whole video about levels of care, how it's prices on children. That and how they go to different placements, how much you get paid at the RTC, how much you get paid at the residential, not a that's the same thing, residential treatment center. How much they get paid at the group home, how much you get paid at a foster home, how much you get paid with a relative, and how much you get paid just at a regular regular home and placement. Then I talked about the basic, moderate, specialized, and intense, the different type of levels of care these children have. And agreed. And I talked about it on my CPS videos that I've had a woman tell me, hey, you ain't even got to come by see the kid. Only thing I ask by you, and I'm a lie for you, I'm a cover for you. Only thing I ask for you to do is keep his level of care up. Or put on some medication. I ain't gonna give it to him, just put him on there. Hindering the child because that record follows them everywhere, but that person's going to get paid more. That person, that foster agency, that foster parent will get paid more. But the state, and you like you were saying earlier, the state, I know in Texas, I can't speak for New York, but in Texas, it's so much money come out. And you don't have to have special needs here in Texas because once you turn 18. And I tell folks in Texas, in Washington, in Arkansas, in Louisiana, and I think we got 50 states. I think out of 37, I think it may went up. So it's like 37, maybe plus states. Once you age out of care, meaning you don't go back to your parents, you can come into care when you're 17. And if your parents don't take you back or can't take you back, you get free tuition for the rest of your life. And I'm talking about bachelor's, master's, doctorates. You know what? I went to school to be a doctor. I want to become an engineer now. And they'll pay for that too. It's a lot of resources here that's given to kids, but a lot of kids don't take that because they never seen anybody even go to college, graduate at times. And the majority of kids that go through that program that's successful with it are the Black and brown children. Now, even with the white children, I can't speak of why. I'd rather have them on. So once again, we're working at to have that understanding. In New York too. New York had the same system. So there are benefits to that the state has to pay out, which when we say the state, whatever state you living in, it's coming out your dollars, player. That's why we pay them taxes. I mean, that's all but I be damned, excuse my language, but if I find out like I'm working conservatorship and I find out somebody's intentionally going out to remove kids for money and I'm not seeing the money, no, I need to be called out. Definitely. It's too many, like once again, it may be different in New York, but in Texas, in Harris County, in Houston, is so many kids in care. You see on the news all the time how these kids be in hotel rooms and stuff. CPS have to pay that out. It costs more money for kids to be in care on taxpayers' dollars than for them to go and start to snatch them. Unfortunately, that's why you hear about these kids being abused, neglected. And people be like, why didn't CPS come out and do nothing? Man, because they don't have enough caseworkers. Like it's that's why when I hear that, I'm like, baby, I believe once again, it's money. Money can be made in it if they make it privatized. And I've been saying that for a long time. Money can't be in it if they make it privatized. And they should never make it privatized because I don't know who Samsung SM is, but as they said, that's when the conflict of interest would arrive. And like I can talk about attorneys. People do make money out of it, but I can get on that note and how problematic it would become. But I can say for sure, CPS here in Texas, CPS does not get paid for adoptions because think about it. If they went at, like I've had a time where CPS was being slick and they were trying to get the foster parent to do an outside adoption. They were trying to get PMC to a foster parent and have them after the case closed, after CPS was out, to get them to do it. And knowing adoptions cost thousands of dollars. So that's why I'll try to put that correlation together. And I don't, once again, it may be different in New York, and I may be 100% wrong if it's happened. We need to bring in Cornell X and the rest of them folks and really get on their neck. More know if they are really removing children for $1. But that's me.
Drake, you know that Dallas County, they have now privatized the foster care in Dallas County.
Fort Worth did too. I
Mhm.
think Fort Worth,
I think that's part of that DFW area.
and I think I know they did it back in the day and they reversed
Mhm.
it. And I don't know if they're bringing it back.
Yeah. No, they
And
did as of February this year.
that's
Dallas
nasty work.
County, yeah. Dallas County is privatized. They said the foster care part of it is privatized.
And I'm gonna read the chats real quick too. So Harlem Brown Eyes right here on TikTok. After 16, they don't remove kids because it's not worth it. Okay, that's a conversation. That's a conversation. That could never happen in the county I work in. We're constantly getting audited. That's why audit is happening too. Definitely don't. And I know here, removing the kid at 16, it still need to happen. Once again, we can make time, but talking about how removal happened, do we have any investigators in here? The one that goes out initially for the conversation? So once again, if you work in a different department, the investigators are the first people to go out. They are like the infantry. They frontline soldiers. Mr. Social Worker 12 in here. We've had episodes discussing with different caseworkers too. But hold on, let me go to the chat here on Zoom. Miss Cat Eye says, yes, okay, we got that. Where I am, they go above and beyond not to pull kids. Yeah. Because it goes left. They are not responsible. Yeah, being in education and seeing kids daily or absent due to family issues cares crazy. And good evening, team. Good evening, Brittany. Did I miss anybody else? Hello, T. Jolie. I know we got an iPhone in here. Samsung, I don't see y'all names, so I got to call y'all Samsung and iPhone for the moment. Okay, but love y'all. Thank y'all for being here. But let's see. Anybody else want to chime in or have any questions right now before we go into any deeper? Check one, check two. But I'm loving the conversation. Oh, hey, Glow on the iPhone. That's Glock, everybody. That's Glock.
What was the last question that was asked?
From me, it was just about, do you have anything to chime in on the conversation right now? Any thoughts? CPS workers, your experience, do you believe CPS get paid off of adoptions? What kids getting adopted? Or in flipping on the other side, do we believe families are being targeted for removal so CPS can get paid, the state can get paid? Or work around different partnerships?
That's tricky because every state is different.
I know. Every county is different.
That part. But I mean, the only thing that I could say about in Harris County is that, there are different departments. So with family-based, we don't work with adoption. Conservatorship, you're working either towards family reunification or
Termination.
or termination.
Yeah.
So we don't have any hands in if a child is being adopted or not, depending on what department that you're in. And when I was working in conservatorship, we were trying to, everything is for the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
So sometimes termination is warranted.
Yeah.
Because some of these parents ain't shit, just being very honest. But then you have parents who have worked really hard. So we try to make sure that those children are reunited with their family, if not their parents, a family member. Because
Yeah.
once they're in the system, it's really hard for them to get back home. And me personally, like, I don't like that. I went through it as a child. I know how it is. So being able to bring those families back together, that is a goal for me. Now, on the flip end, excuse my language, you have some shiesty ass workers.
Say that.
So you have people who don't care. You have people who just simply want to move along a case, and you have people who they just bullshit. And so they give the they give the agency a bad name. But you
Yeah.
also have those in higher up positions that are the same way. Because working in family base, I had a supervisor who I felt at times that she really did not care, and she wanted us to keep the cases. And I'm just like, why? Families are doing what it is that we're asking for them. And granted, it's not the ideal situation, but as case workers, we are trained that every situation is not going to be like ours. So if a family is maintaining and making sure that things are taken care of, that's their situation. That is their household. How are we
Yeah.
to judge them based upon how we live?
And that's one of the reasons I started doing everything culture. Because unless you talk to people and understand why did they do it, a lot of times it's not abuse. I ain't gonna say all of it. Sometimes it's straight up abuse. Don't get me wrong, but if it's just a point of ignorance, they just didn't know better. We can work with that. Now, if they had full intention, they know it's wrong, that's problematic. But I've seen times where, like me and Jerron from the same area. Back in the day, if you got this for anybody, if you burned your arm, what would you put on your arm?
Butter.
Butter. Listen, I was raised by my grandparents, part of my life, St. Louis, Tyler, Texas. Okay. If you would have, I had 3 scholarships when I graduated from high school, doing very well. If you would have said butter, and you got to be careful when people say that. If somebody say you don't put butter on your arm, that's stupid. By saying that right there, you call my grandma stupid. And hands made, even though I'm highly educated, whatever, in that time, you insulted me. And yes, you do put butter on the burn. Because until you're taught something different, you ain't gonna know any better. And that's what we talk about culture. Everybody believe they're right until you grow, you go outside of different things, you see see the world a little bit more. You're like, man, grandma was wrong about that. But it's hard when you go off and say, hey, your grandma dumb, okay, or something like that. Because when you say certain things, it has impact. Your intentions may be one way, but your impact is a whole different level. So when I used to go into these homes and I work with these parents, and I used to see other other case workers. I used to check case workers. Okay. Even, especially when I left CPS and I went over to CASA, I used to like, hey man, you out of I remember supervisors lying through the when I was talking about the supervisor trying to get that woman to adopt them kids. I mean, take PMC to the kids. I like, you crooked in a bit. Excuse me. You crooked. You wrong for that. So it was like, you dead wrong for that, man. And he like, no, you can do it. I said, no, you can't. I said, ma'am, you would be left with them kids by yourself. And they try to say, well, we're going to put the parents on child support. The dude don't pay child support for his other kids in Louisiana. Why do you think he'll pay child support for these? So trust me, it's a lot of problems with that. And like you said, Brittany, it's a lot of people that's in the system. And as my guy Jerron say, how do you even get into the field of work like this and don't care? It is happening. I went to a PMC graduation. My mentee, which is 26 now, getting ready to graduate from college, was a graduate guy. He was the first kid that went to the PMC program here in Harris County, Judge Griffith Court. PMC kids are permanent managing custody, meaning they aged out of care. And they go to the PAL program. They have a nice graduation for the kids. I posted some of the pictures on TikTok and IG and all that. But y'all don't understand the impact of that. And I saw one case worker. I can't wait till I do my other stories. And I saw that bitch there. I was like, how are you still working here? You done been beat up by 2 parents before, and nobody came to protect you because you needed them hands. You are one of the worst case, but she's still there. because people know you hit them numbers. It's something, and like that goes back to Harlem. People care about the numbers more than they care about the children, more than they care about the
Yep.
families. And I will say that. I will
Can I
say
say,
that.
can I say that? It's the same for education as well. All
Mm.
these kids are to the governor, all the people in the higher up positions is money. That's it.
It's the same with child support too, as far as the amount of money that they bring in per year.
I
Who
have to
How
said?
much
agree
they
with Brittany as well because as a homeschool mom, I got a lot of pushback when I decided to homeschool Linda and I took her out of public school. I had never had her teacher call me for anything. I never had the principal call me for anything. But the moment I decided to take that ESA scholarship, which in Arizona is the money that the state would have gave the school to educate my child, they now give to me to use to educate my child. Now all of a sudden, all the issues that I was having in the school, now you want to address. Too little, too late.
What happened?
He had to go off screen for a second.
Oh, okay.
It
Absolutely, money
really,
talks.
it really does, and that's sad because right
Yeah.
now I'm struggling as a teacher with this whole curriculum that we have going on, and they
Mm.
just they really don't care, and that's another reason why I left CPS too.
Mm.
And I need to make them t-shirts. I've been saying it for the longest that people don't care about people. People care about the use of people.
Mm.
It's like, and unfortunately, it's like that across the spectrum of things. That's why, like, when we get even down to politics, I'm like, man, so would you care about me if you didn't need me in this moment?
Right. I think if you could somehow take the business aspect out of social um, um, endeavors, but it's impossible to do it that way though. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like my job that I work for now. We had where they wanted to close down the residential because kids were wilding.
Mm.
It's in a nice, well-to-do town. And they wanted to close it down. So the kids acted up so much that CPS and ACS they closed down our intake.
Mm.
They thought that we were going to close down, and that was a big chunk of our money. So they were like, "Oh," they start laying off people.
Mm.
So they've had us come in there for a big meeting, and all of a sudden the board turns around and says, "Okay, we're going to be okay." And then the president of the CFO says, "Oh, we're not going under. We have 27 million in our funding." Like, but you don't want to give us a raise? But you don't want to give us a raise. And we're out here, and excuse what I'm going to say. I said, they're our pimp, and we're the whole doing the stroll for them.
Hey,
And here, little chitlins out in the field.
hey, I say that all the time. You better pimp yourself because you somebody's hoe. But unfortunately, but because when you like, if we talk about how do you say,
Don't come over
when
here,
we
baby. Sorry.
what you say? Oh, you talking to the
Sorry, let
dog.
me mute you.
Like
Let
you
me mute.
fine. When we talk about RTC, so once again, residential treatment centers. Let me break that down for y'all real quick. I don't know if I did a video about that yet. I need to put my suit and tie back on and chop it up with y'all about that again. But a residential treatment center, once again, these are for kids with higher levels of care, usually older children, and perhaps children with behavior issues. Mainly, CPS can find them a foster home or maybe a group home for them to go. And so as I talk about levels of care, you have basic, moderate, specialized, and intense. And I think they have intense plus now here in Texas. Okay. So you can't be basic in a RTC. I think you have to be moderate or specialized, if I'm not mistaken, or higher. All right. And usually if you go to intense, you probably need some special treatment, like you may need like a medical facility or a medical foster home or group home or a juvenile detention center. All right. So think of moderate to specialized. So these are kids that maybe smoking, drinking, active, may have put hands on somebody, them put hands on the foster parent, but don't get along with other kids well, and they go here. And once again, you got counselors and people on staff, kind of like Harlem Brown eyes. And them people be giving them folks, like sometimes I've had kids, every year watching this time. Hold on, I'm gonna read your comment in a second. Thank you for the comments too. Thank y'all for people on TikTok. If y'all can tap the screen, we would greatly appreciate that. Thank y'all so greatly. But and share the live too. If this could benefit someone, share it. But shout out to the people who at these facilities, because these some kids that may have some issues. And think about, and I would say this, I want to be clear. Even though I was somewhat of a good kid, kind of a little bit, if you would have put me in an RTC, I would have been hell. All right. I would have been hell. And some of these RTCs are co-ed. You know how I've been sneaking around? Gee, ain't no way. Ain't no way. You would tell me it's a girl that's a room across from me, and you think these counselors gonna stay up all night and they go see my ass go military roll across this hallway? Nah, not at all times. But case in point, it's different. And I wish people could see what these are like. Some of them are really good. Some of them are sorry. Listen, I told us about the story. I was taking one kid in at 11 o'clock at night, and I was looking at these group of girls across the hall with them, looking at them like, and I'm like, whoa. And kind of go back to the video we're going to be discussing later tonight about the young woman that said she had the choo-choo performed on her. She also speaks later on how she was in foster care. A lot of these kids are looking for love. They're looking for something to fill them up with emotions and acceptance. Okay. But when we talk about how a lot of those kids who age out of care, sometimes they hire them kids to work at that RTC. And when they hire to work at that RTC, they're also to the point where they're not going to be too equipped to handle a lot of issues and a lot of problems. Because they're still technically kids at times. They still may have that mindset and may not be mature enough to handle certain situations. But those RTC, those are like, I talk about my kids that was at RTCs. I've had a few of them that were like, okay, they good, they solid, I ain't got to worry too much about them. I used to have kids throw bricks through counselors' windows, square up against them, and we have to call. They'll call me, Mr. Drake, so-and-so. He's like, can you talk to him? I like talk to him. I'm like, hey, G, what's going on? What's happening? Man, they didn't. It's almost like talking. It's like a step below juvenile detention. Okay, so it's a lot, and some of them kids that shouldn't be in RTCs, but it's nowhere for them to be placed. They could be around other kids that like have some SA in their history, and they're gonna be in the same room with them. Or some kid that like to do substances in their same room, they're gonna be influenced to do that. There's a lot of things that happen. And that's why I would say I know Britt shared that she was in care, but it's a different world. And that's why we bringing people on to have these conversations, because it's something that we haven't seen. I wasn't in foster care. I was taken in by a family member, thank God. I didn't have to deal with CPS, but I could have. It could have definitely been the case. But it's a lot of folks out here that we put forth judgment on each other and on these caseworkers. And why did this happen? Baby, kids like to run away. And these RTCs are usually way out in the country. They're not in the city. In Texas, they put you out like in Liberty. They put you out in New Braunfels. And you have to drive all the way there to see your kid.
Ooh.
And your kid, and I used to be like, once you say, which I didn't work there no more, you better start fucking up. Cause they go keep moving you further and further out. They mean I gotta drive further and further out to see you. Stop. Chill. I never forget this one little girl. She used to cut up. I done told the story on live before. Oh, Waco. I had a kid in Waco. I had a kid in my hometown of Tyler. I like, you in Tyler? I get to see my auntie. Like, hey, you ain't gonna play out there too much. And I had kids that, man, I never one kid, like, we went so far in the country. I like, boy, I know you ain't run away from here. I'm scared coming out here myself, and I'm grown. But that's what they do because they can't. The kids like to run away. They put them in the RTCs. But man, I had this little girl. She used to give her family members hell, and unfortunately, because she been through a lot. She been through hell. She was molested by not only her stepfather, but her step grandfather too, when CPS was in the case. Okay. And so when she started acting out, doing all these things, because this little girl is slashing out, I had to call her therapist because she tried to do something to me one time. You understand? That's why I'd be like, on guys, you got to be. Once again, I'm telling these stories and these experiences because I just let you know what it's like. But when I tell you that little girl, we had to put her in the RTC at the age of 10. When she was around them other little hard hitters that was about that action, she was a little white and Hispanic girl. She was around the motherfuckers that will uppercut you. You try it, and they ready to snap off. I had some other kids on there. You don't be around them. She was like, man, when I used to come visit that girl, she used to be like, hello, Mr. Drake. How are you doing? Pleasure to meet you. I'm so happy. When can I go to a foster home? And it's hard because you want to get them out of RTC. But I'm like, hey, we had to get your level to drop because woo, 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 woo. And those are just some of the experiences that we have. And I see your hand, Brittany, but I'm going to read these comments real quick and we're going to get right to you. Okay, my guy or my gal, Broken Arrow says, every year I watch wonderful new social workers come into case management and quit by the end of the year. Extremely high turnover rate. Extremely high turnover rate. I talk to teachers at times, and they were like, "It's so hard being a teacher." And it's always one teacher like, shut your ass up. You ain't been a caseworker. It's like, shut. Until you work for CPS or anything like that nature, this ain't nothing. This is hard work being a teacher. But this right here is stupid crazy. That CPS stuff is dumb. Okay, Brittany, what you got for us? Am I lying? Any of my social workers or case workers in here? Am I teachers? Am I lying? Stop. I would tell people, check me if I'm lying.
You're not, because I always say I will never go back to the state. Like, I would rather take on the kids at school than go back. But briefly talking about my experience, and granted, this was back in Michigan. I went into foster care during my freshman year of high school. So at that point, I was pissed off at the world. I went to a group home. I never went to a RTC, but I went to a group home with basic children. 3 times I was moved, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And I would intentionally do shit because I'm like, I want to go home to my family. I want to see my family, and y'all are making it so that I can't. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do everything possible so that I can get removed from all these homes. And when I went to the group home, it was co-ed. And I wasn't sexually active with any of them because, yeah, I think they were on a level of crazy as I was. But we would get into trouble. Like, we would do like just dumb stuff so that we could gain that attention. Cause I'm sitting here like, what did I do to get taken from my family? Like, I can't help that my mom was a drug addict, but I still had family members that were willing to get me, and y'all are not letting me go with them. Like, that's what pissed me off the most. Because I had a great grandmother who, well, actually my grandmother who could have gotten me, but they said that I couldn't go. So I lashed out at everybody.
Yeah.
I get it.
I'll tell this story later in the future. I remember it was a set of like 5 kids. Them kids were something else. Let me tell you that. Them kids were something else. Oh, them kids or something. We used to work a brother out. Okay, hey Shan, welcome in. Um, but they had a great grandmother because they was with their grandmother, and their grandmother said, "I can't do it. I can't do it no more." The mama just wasn't doing what she needed to do to get the kids back when like we could not place because she kept effing up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the great grandma had a property. Well, I think this was I think you said Willis, Texas. It was like, it's something past out near Austin. But she kept coming. She came to every court hearing. She'll come to visit. She'll call her and her husband. But the thing is, CPS did see. I was at CASA then. CPS could not approve that placement because she had a DUI from like 9 years ago. And let me tell you, her DUI was because she was driving a tractor drunk. Small town, one of the new little sheriffs. And she's like, we do this all the time. We ain't nobody around here. And they gave her a DUI for that. And she like 60 something years old. Like now, like CPS wouldn't go out there because they said once you have their policy, if you have a DUI, you cannot place a child there unless it's over 10 to 15 years or something like that. Okay. And I think they dropped it because like, hey, they need placements for these kids. I went out to this lady. I drove out there. I said, I made time because I was going to do a home assessment since CPS won't, because I can give it to the court because something people don't know that CPS may unapprove a placement or disapprove of a placement. But if you have a different entity or the attorney at Lytton will go out, they can do a home assessment and they could get approval from the court, but not CPS, meaning that placement can be approved for the kids to be placed there, but they won't get any resources from CPS. All right. So I went out there. This woman had a big ass house, plenty of property. The thing is, she had a lake in the backyard. And the only thing she had to do, I told them everything they do came out. Put some like alarms you can buy from Walmart or the dollar store, just little chirps and all that. Clean up here, do this. She did every single thing I asked her to do. Came out there, boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. Had all them kids play. They had almost every one of them kids had a room for themselves. Doing that type of work. It was work going out there on a Saturday. It was work driving way out there that other people wouldn't do. But you got to do that extra step for the best interest of these children. Because now, and guess what? She didn't need no damn resources on CPS. I just want my great grandbabies. I just want my family. Because we know, because listen, them kids wasn't that, them the type of kids would not have done well in CPS custody. None of them would do well, in my opinion. Because CPS says on their website, we are not the best parent. So if we could place with family, we're definitely going to do it. But man, when I tell you, that was one of them times where I like, it meant many times like if we were not involved because mama was wild and on some dumb stuff. Daddy's was, once again, I tell people all the time, if you, I don't work for this organization anymore, CASA, but if you can take a case, take one. If you want to see something and you want to make a like I'm seeing, I'll be on my brother's drawing, I'll be on my guys. Like you got kids, but man, mentoring is a whole different level. It's some kids, it's because it's the majority of kids. I don't know how it is in Michigan. I don't know how it is in New York. I don't know how it is in Georgia. I don't know how it is in Arizona. I don't know how it is in Louisiana. I don't know how it is in Cali. But in Texas, in CPS, Black males make up the highest percentage. It's dumb how many of us in care. But we have the least amount of volunteers that look like us, that represent us. And you'll be surprised because when we step into it, yeah, I know I will shoot you anything you need. I'll look it up for you. But when I tell you, it's like when you just, I tell people just take one. Just start off with one because it's a lot. And you just be on there and you just make sure how that kid is doing. You go to court, you testify how that child is doing. You let the judge know this is what's really happening. Only thing you do, this is what happened, Judge. I went to go see him this month. He's doing well here. I used to call my kid. I used to tell my kids to call me every Friday, and I would see you once a week. That call was unnecessary, but I just need to hear your voice. And that consistency, that's why the term consistency, that's where it comes from. When you're the only consistent person in people's life and they never had consistency before, you build a different type of connection with them. Promise you. Because a lot of these kids, they ain't never, they mama ain't been there for them, they daddy ain't been there for them, they grandma, they grandpa ain't they may had a teacher. But if you just steady check in on them, like, hey, what's going on? They may be an asshole towards you at first. But man, when they start like, hey, Mr. Haggerty, he show up. Miss Shan, they ain't gonna call you, they're gonna call you Mr. Drun. Mr. Drun show up. Miss Shan show up, Miss Brittany show up, Miss Jaya show up. I don't know about, and I'm telling you, I got so many kids that be hitting me up like, hey, everybody else, they don't even know who their attorney was, but I know you was there. And that consistency means something. And you be thinking, man, I was just really just doing what I was supposed to do. I really was just checking in. I was just, and when that judge, you go to court, once again, if anybody in the chat here on TikTok, anybody here on this platform Zoom, anybody on YouTube, if I'm lying, check me. Let me know. But I've been in court. The attorney don't know a damn thing. Sometimes the caseworker don't know a damn. They know maybe like 10%. The caseworkers don't have enough time to know everything, but that volunteer, that person that just, and they open up, man, and you doing that, you ain't got no real ulterior motive like me and Harlem Brown Eyes was saying, because you ain't getting paid. You volunteering for it. Like, why I got to come in here to lie? So that's why I say just taking one and making that impact. And, I see the majority of people in here are melanated people. Y'all are beautiful. Okay. Hey, this is a way to show up for your folks. Help a teacher. I would say it's so many different ways to volunteer and give back, but that is a severe way. And let me tell you, you just walk out that motherfucker, you be like, hey, this is jacked up. Like he does that, and that's why it's like I'm what Tony said. I wanted to for a while at Attorney General, but life happened. CASA, like, listen, that type of stuff when you start doing that work in the interview, because everybody can't do it. You may be like, because I used to have to interview people and to see if you're equipped to do this work. Man, you be in that the interview, the makings of you transition from my interviews I used to have people. That's why I started doing it, because you'd be surprised. You ask some people, like, I remember I asked this one woman something and she just broke down crying, and we're like, ooh, we're not ready for that shit. Okay. So like, I don't know this for you. Because if you can't handle these questions, when these kids open up and tell you, Unky, touch me here, are you ready to handle that? Or I saw my mama have this, and that, or have all these people come in the house and they like, ooh. Or if you ain't dealt with your past traumas, this is some work that is real difficult. So I'm big on like knowing what you're capable of doing and know what you're handling. So I know that's a lot, y'all, but we've had this, I think, as long as we've been on YouTube and TikTok at the same time. But we're about to let me see. I know my girl Nick usually try to slide in. I don't know if she's still in the chat right now on TikTok, but we're about to slide off of YouTube. Do anybody want to shout anything out? Anything they want to share? Any accomplishments? Any businesses? Any events? Anything we need to support before we hop off YouTube? Shan, come on.
What's new? We're Right with Shan starts back tomorrow. Talking about my favorite season, fall fashions and styling things. I have a new guest that's gonna come on in September for Cozy Womb podcast to talk about how to talk to your daughters about puberty. Okay. Because I think that's a big topic for people who don't understand that the food that we're feeding our boys and girls are making them mature a lot faster. So a lot of people need to have that conversation a lot quicker than when we were growing up. And what else is going on?
Yeah, some people looking grown in middle school
Okay.
where I come from, but I digress.
New
I had a beard
post.
in freshman. Okay,
yes.
But anyway.
There should be a new blog post coming up for this week and next week on shanbypotting.com. Other than that, Monday is tomorrow. It's a sad time, but I'm over here preparing. That's why I'm just like over here and doing busy work. But yeah,
ready already. We love it. We love it. Anyone else? Any prayers needed? I'm praying for all y'all anyway because it'd be crazy out here in these life
Me,
streets.
me. I would definitely say ask for a prayer for the educators in Houston ISD because we are really going through it. This
I've
is
heard.
my third year in education, and I am literally drained. My heart goes out to these children because the superintendent and his minions, they do not care about the quality of instruction. We're sitting here having to do tedious work that does not have anything to do with the actual academics in the classroom. Like they're handing all of this stuff to us, but we don't have the time. We're all constantly taking stuff home, and it's to the point to where we are losing some of the very best teachers. So please continue to keep us in your prayers and our health as well.
Oh, thank you, thank you. And I'm saying, Lord Father, thank you for blessing us with another day, blessing us with an opportunity to serve in your will. At this moment, I want to make sure, we give you the power, you the glory, because all things go through you. We pray at this moment for you to protect our educators, to protect our social servants and social workers, the people who are making a difference in our community and in our life. We ask for to protect the parents, the family members, the people who are, here for your heart and here that are misguided as well. Protect me, protect the growth that we're trying to accomplish and the change we're trying to make as you intended us to do so. So Lord, we give all glory to you once again in your name we pray. Amen. So once again, we definitely gonna keep this going and we appreciate you. We still, hey, if the Zoom folks we still on here, if you're trying to join the Zoom conversation, continue what we're talking about right here. I have the information on right here. Boom, boom, right here on TikTok, y'all. But we will be hopping off the YouTubes. So we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And we